anyways, there's all these other big presses that you have to be invited to have an edition made. But at Josephine Press, John Greco, he's the owner, and he opened the shop about almost 40 years ago. And he wanted it to...
4 or 40?
40.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to be clear because there's a distinction there.
Yes. Many years ago, 40 years ago. He wanted a shop for anyone to come in and make a print. He wanted them to have access to that. So he opened Josephine Press, and it's very community-based. It's very like open to workshops. So anyone can come in, whether you have experience or not, and you can take a workshop like etching, monoprint, relief, all these different practices.
Do you guys do lithographs and whatnot?
Lithographs are the most difficult to operate a space for. So we do like pronto plate lithography, which is kind of tricky and also really basic. Like you can draw on a sensitive sheet of, it's basically like a polyester film that is sensitive to grease, and you can draw on it, and then whatever your image is going to be the positive that will be printed. Mm-hmm. You could do photographic imagery that way by running the sheet of, it's like a pronto plate is what it's called. You run it through a laser printer, and so the toner then fuses to the paper, and then you ink it up and print it the way you would a lithograph. But they're very finicky. Like a lot of printmakers that I talk to say they either work or they don't work. So
this version of the lithograph. Okay. What makes the lithograph? Now I'm fascinated. What makes the lithograph so difficult?
Well, okay, so lithography it's a planographic process. So you're not like carving anything, you're not scratching anything, you're just drawing on a flat surface, which is a sheet of limestone or like a really thick stone. Mm-hmm. And you have to polish the surface, so you grind it down so it's free of any grease, it's nice and smooth. And then you draw on it with greasy material. So there's what's called lithocrayons, and those are, a specific grease level. There's 1 through 5. 1 is going to be the most greasy, so it'll give you the darkest values, and there's 5, which is the least greasy and will be the lightest values. And then there's all these other things in between. And basically...
Sorry, go ahead.
You draw your image, and then you etch it onto the stone. So you use nitric acid, and you're basically telling the stone what's going to be what. And then the areas that you leave alone, those won't print. So once you've etched it, you then wet the surface of the stone. So it's kind of like the idea of oil versus water. So wherever you had your grease material, when you roll ink onto the stone, the ink sticks to those areas, versus where the stone is wet, because the ink is oil-based, it will repel because water repels oil, right? So when you roll the ink on, it sticks into the areas where you have your drawing, gets repelled, and then you do this process of sponging and inking the plate repetitively. And then you put your paper on it, and then you run it through the press. So you need like a really good facility just for that process.
Yeah. No, it sounds pretty intense. But it also sounds like what you're saying is that it's not too different from just when you're using the similar like resin on something so that the acid burns it, like the metal. I'm so dumb.
It's okay. I am here to talk about every print process. It's like my passion.
No, so etching, just regular etching, but without like scraping, etching with like acids. It sounds it's a similar process, or is it not? It's because it sounds like maybe in this case you're not deteriorate like.
So etching is usually on a sheet of metal like zinc or copper. And with zinc, you do use nitric acid, which is the same acid you would use to etch a stone. But with the stone, you're just kind of doing chemical reactions with
you're not melting away stone.
Right. Okay. So
that answered question.
Exactly. Yeah. With etching, the zinc literally eats into the plate where you have it exposed, where the acid is. So then it creates a line where ink can be pushed into and wiped the surface clean, and then run through the press. That's a really dumbed down version of it.
Okay.
But yeah.
But I'm getting a real strong sense that to you, there's maybe nothing more satisfying than pulling something out of the press.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
It's funny. I work with an artist, and she says, every time we pull a print, it's like Christmas.
I know.
It is. It's like, that's what keeps a lot of printmakers going, I think, is like that moment where all that hard work that you put into your plate, all the ink that you thought of, like the color and the transparency, and like having to go through the whole process of inking it up and then running it through the press. And then that last moment is pulling it off and just being like, there it is.
Yeah.
You know?
But we also forget that it's like it's the way that a lot of stuff used to be printed, and it has like a really like rich advertising, like, you know, like as opposed to just like painting or anything like that. It has a finish to it that I like, that I think I'm excited. Now I'm like, I've been painting the drawings that I do, and now I'm like, maybe I want to fucking print them.
Yeah, I think everyone should do a little bit of printmaking.
I might come out to your spot.
Please do.
And try to do that. So,
yes.
So that's really fun. I mean, that seems like you have a pretty fulfilling life for someone of your generation, where the whole world is falling apart, and you get to have like, I mean, I'm not that the world falling apart doesn't affect you, but I'm saying like you're doing pretty good. It sounds like.
Yeah.
You hear all about these millennials being lazy. It seems like you have an idyllic like setup for yourself.